Don't need that.
What happened? Okay. Let us begin our metta meditation first. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all be happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As the mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision. Removing desires for sensual pleasures, one comes never again to birth in the womb. With this metta thought, let us continue our mindfulness practice. We need metta now more than ever, not only because of this COVID-19, but because of so many other reasons. There are so many suffering beings. Almost everyone in the universe is suffering. So we need metta practice. To practice metta, we need mindfulness. So we practice mindfulness now. Let us pay total undivided attention to our breath, pure and clean, and then notice the breath touching our nostrils, reaching our lungs, expanding lower abdomen and chest area. As we breathe out, lower abdomen contracts, chest area contracts, and the breath leaves our nostrils. These functions take place all the time when we breathe in and out. We must pay attention without using words, concepts, or ideas to our breath. Feeling. We feel the breath as we breathe in. We feel the perception. We perceive it, and we pay mindful attention. That is our will or volition. And we are conscious or aware of our breathing. And they change as we breathe out. That means the feeling we had when we were breathing in is no longer there when we breathe out. New feeling arises of exhaling. The perception we had before will no longer be there when we breathe out. When we when we inhale, we have attention or intention to inhale, and then we breathe out. That previous intention is no longer there. New intention is there. When we breathe in, we are aware of inhaling breath. That awareness will no longer be there when we exhale. New awareness arises. You can see constantly changing breath, feeling, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. They all change, appear and disappear, appear and disappear. Not single one of them stays the same. They all are impermanent. In this impermanence, we can see continuity, consistency. There will not be any difference. Everything is impermanent. And when we see this, our breath becomes relaxed and calm. The body becomes calm and relaxed. Mind becomes calm and relaxed. And then we don't have any intention or desire to hold on to anything. Thought of holding on to anything is mere futile thought, empty thought. We cannot substantiate it. And then the body relax. When the mind and body relax, where there will no longer be uptightness, rigidity, and resentment or anger fades away. Metta feeling we begin to feel. And then also we see all suffering beings. We do not see them with our natural eyes, but mental eye we can see the suffering beings. Then compassion arises. And then also we get more energetic to continue our practice. Then sleepiness and drowsiness fade away. And then we can get very clear idea, clear vision of what is happening. And there we get even great deal of confidence in the practice. Doubt fades away. We get joy, and that joy leads to happiness. Happiness leads to concentration. In the concentrated state of mind, we see nothing but rising and falling. In the subtlest way, the minutest changes we can see. In other words, we can see impermanence in the most subtle form. Very quickly things change, appear and disappear. So this opens our wisdom eye to see that there is no any permanent entity called soul or self. This is self-evident, meaning that we, from our personal experience, when we see everything is changing, we will not see anything permanent. With this, let us continue our practice. Dukkhapattaca nidukkha, bhayapattaca nibhaya, sokapattaca nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this metta wish, let us focus our mind on the Dhamma talk that I am going to give this morning. I mentioned before we went for our short retreat, short vacation, that I would start a new series of talks on great discourse on four establishment of mindfulness. In Pali it is called Maha Satipatthana Sutta. This discourse we find in Digha Nikaya. Digha Nikaya Sutta number 22. In Majjhima Nikaya also there is Satipatthana, that is Majjhima Nikaya number 10. Now these two discourses are mostly identical. In the Digha Nikaya discourse has a long explanation of the four noble truths. In Majjhima Nikaya Satipatthana, four noble truths are briefly mentioned without any details. And this is the difference. This discourse is so central and essential for Buddhist mindfulness meditation, being translated into many languages and used as a central text of mindfulness meditation practice. And therefore, since many of our friends and others practice meditation these days, especially mindfulness meditation, called sometimes vipassana meditation, this discourse is very important to study in some details. So I thought of starting a series of talks on this discourse. This discourse is delivered in Kuru country. Kuru country is it has a reputation that people in the Kuru country were more learned and intellectual people. So several very important discourses are delivered in this Kuru country. One is also very important discourse on dependent origination called Mahanidana Sutta. Mahanidana Sutta is in Digha Nikaya number Digha Nikaya number 12. Now, Digha Nikaya number Yes, yes, number 15. Nidana Nidana Samyutta in Diganikaya, and also Nidana in Samyutta Nikaya. And then in Majjhima Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, and another discourse is given, Sutta, in Mahavagga. Then other discourse is given in Samyutta Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 82, called Rattapala Sutta. And then another discourse delivered also in Kuru Ratta, Magandhya Sutta. And Mahasatipatthana Sutta and Mahanidana Sutta, Diganika number 15. Yes. All these discourses are delivered in Kuru country. There are several other discourses because these discourses are very profound, deep discourses. And Buddha addressed the monks, people there, bhikkhus. A bhikkhu, the word bhikkhu generally is used for the monastics who live on who get their requisites from people and they live depending on people. But the word bhikkhu here is used for anyone who practices mindfulness meditation. In this sense, the word bhikkhu used in a very general sense. And there Buddha said, bhikkhus, ekayano ayam bhikkhave maggo. Bhikkhus, there is one road, one path that directly goes to Nibbana. This path, mindfulness path, when somebody practices very diligently, that person can end up in attaining Nibbana, attaining Arahanthood. And therefore this path is called direct path. Ekayana, the word ekayana also has been interpreted by different people in different ways. I think most prevalent and most meaningful translation should be the path that leads to directly attain enlightenment, Nibbana. Some people, when they hear the word enlightenment, Nibbana, from the very beginning of meditation, they immediately want to jump to enlightenment. And I know some people practicing meditation, vipassana meditation, for long time, keeping in mind directly attaining enlightenment, they get so frustrated that they don't even practice meditation at all, they give up. Give up completely the practice of meditation. I want to caution them in advance at the very beginning, please don't do so. The purpose of the attainment is enlightenment, but you cannot attain it right away. You have to, you can get a lot of fringe benefits before we attain that enlightenment. And therefore, practicing mindfulness is, uh, according to this discourse and according to other discourses, is absolutely necessary, at least to have a right view, right understanding. In the right understanding, samadhi, three factors are absolutely necessary. These three factors we call cardinal factors, main factors. Number one, right view. Right view start with mindfulness. Then right effort. Right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. These are the three cardinal factors in the Noble Eightfold Path. And therefore, this discourse is very, very important discourse. I like to mention that this Buddha began the discourse saying, I say it in English in order to save time, since most people may not be familiar with the Pali language. I like to say, talk only, use only English translation of the discourse and explain in English, avoiding Pali only because of very practical reason. The discourse Buddha says, Bhikkhus, this is the direct path for the purification of beings. Number one, in the very beginning of the discourse, Buddha gave the purpose of this practice. Purpose of this practice. The purpose of this practice are these purposes. Number one, purification of being. Purification of being meaning not just having pure, clean clothes, pure, clean body, but pure, clean mind. Because all our problem arises from impure state of mind. So the first thing is cleansing the mind. So that is number one purpose. Number two purpose, for surmounting sorrow and lamentation. Friends, sorrow and lamentation is also very common mental factor. Many a time people sorrow and lament because the mind is not pure, clean, and because the people do not have mindfulness. and therefore they have sorrow and lamentation. Then the third purpose is for the disappearance of pain and grief. During our Dhamma talks all these days, we mention these two factors as well. Grief, we in our benediction at the end of metta practice, we say, may all beings, grief-stricken beings, be free from grief. And this mindfulness practice helps people to overcome their grief and pain, and for the attainment of the true way, true path. It is called Nyayasa Adhigamaya. Nyaya means the way, a method or system. So we have to put ourselves on the right track, right way, right method in order to attain liberation. When we do all these four things, or when this discourse, this practice does all these four things, then we achieve the last purpose. The last purpose is for the realization of Nibbana. Now, at the very outset, the Buddha gave these 5 purposes of mindfulness meditation. When we fulfill these 5, we definitely liberate ourselves from samsara. So this is a very lofty goal. And keeping this goal, we have to start this practice. No matter how short a period we do the practice, we will get benefit. If we practice for 2 minutes, you get 2 minutes benefit. If you practice 10 minutes, you will have 10 minutes benefit. If you practice 1 hour, you have 1 hour practice. All depends on your own practice. Even if you practice for 2 minutes, it does not go empty, or it will not waste your time. Even that 2 minutes you gain something beneficial, meaningful for your life. That also will add up to your overcoming, to purify your mind. If you practice this even for 2 minutes, during those 2 minutes, your mind will be pure. During those 2 minutes, you can overcome your sorrow and lamentation. During those 2 minutes, you can overcome your grief, pain, and grief. During those 2 minutes, you put yourself on the right path. During those 2 minutes, you are aiming, leading towards the attainment of liberation, and that will be the last attainment. So, even if you practice 2 minutes, during these 2 minutes you will have these benefits. Except the last one, realization of Nibbana. You lay the foundation of realizing Nibbana. Realizing Nibbana also is when we remove all, when you have those previous 4 benefits fully, your mind will open to Nibbana, which does not come from outside, which is within you. It is blocked by various impurities. And therefore the number one is purification of mind. So these 5 purposes of this practice should be kept in mind all the time when you meditate. Anytime you practice mindfulness, you will fall into this, you will get these benefits. Now, then Buddha said, you have to be very patient when we learn this discourse. We don't have to rush. By rushing, we will miss very important points. Therefore, we have to go very slowly, digesting everything very clearly so that our every step will be very meaningful and beneficial. Then Buddha said, having given these purposes, 5 purposes, then Buddha gave the summary of the entire discourse. In the summary, he said, he said, the 4 foundation establishment of mindfulness. Buddha first said, because there are 4 establishments of mindfulness. 4, not 3, not 2, not 1, but 4. Each of them is equally important. That also I must emphasize at the very outset. Each of them is equally important. That means if you specialize only one part of the entire discourse, specialized, keep doing it over and over again, even that is enough to achieve those 5 purposes. We will explain this in detail later on. What are the 4? Contemplating the body in the body. Contemplating the body in the body. What do we mean by contemplating the body in the body? That means one of the bodies we take among several bodies. For instance, breath is one body. It has been very clearly stated in Anapanasati Sutta. Breath body is in this other apparent physical body. Breath also is physical, but it is not so vividly clear. Only one who breathes can notice the breath, but the other body anybody can see. We can see our body, any other person can see our body outside. And therefore, the body in the body means one of the bodies in the body. In other words, every part of this body is a body. Every cell is a body. Every cell is made up of 4 elements. Whatever is made up of 4 elements is a body. Every cell is a body. In our this big, apparently big body, there are billions of or trillions of cells. Each of them is a body made up of 4 elements. Whatever is made up of 4 elements is called a body. So we take one body at a time. And that is the meaning of contemplating the body in the body. And contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having subdued longing and grief for the world. And this phrase also is very important. Contemplating, clearly contemplating. Uh, Clearly contemplating means with the intention of seeing it as it is. When we take one body, that body we must see exactly as it is. Seeing it as it is called clearly comprehending. Clearly comprehending. Body is independent origination we learn is one of the sankharas. In the sankhara, something very clearly visible, discernible. We will explain all these things later. What is discernible, what is visible. Then mindful. Again, the word mindfulness is used. Then, having subdued longing and grief for the world. Longing is a desire, abhijja, Pali word abhijja. Don't confuse abhijja with avijja. Abhijja is spelled in Pali A, B, B as boy, H as Harry, A, J, J, abhijja. Avijja is spelled as A, V as Victor, I, J, J, A, avijja. Avijja with V is ignorance. Abhijja with BH, I is greed, intense greed. Greed for the world. What is the world? Friends, in the Buddha's teaching, in the, it's called Aryasa Vinaye, world is this body. This body made up of 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness. This is the body. So, subduing longing and grief for the body. That means without clinging to this body, or when something goes wrong, without being subject to grief. So without grief and greed, without grief and greed, we must remain alert, mindful to see the body as it actually is. That means without any emotional reaction. Emotional reaction. I emphasize this because during our talks there are certain sections which when we practice or even talk, desire or hate, grief comes from greed. When there is a greed, there is a grief. And therefore, they all appear in us regarding our body. So the world here means this very body. We don't focus the mind on this vast body that is, physically spread oceans across oceans. So that is also body, but that is also world. But But in the Buddha's teaching, the world is our own body with its consciousness. So, our grief and greed is focused on this very body that we already have. And that is the meaning of world. So, let me repeat this very quickly again in order to sum up what I said so far. Here, bhikkhu, so bhikkhu, I said bhikkhu is the one who practices mindfulness. A bhikkhu, you don't think that this mindfulness is specifically mentioned only to monastic individuals. No, it is for everybody and anybody. The Buddha said, here bhikkhus, a bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body. There are many bodies, so we take one. Ardent, clearly comprehending, mindfulness, and having subdued longing and grief for the world. For the world. The world here again is this body. That is where we have our grief and greed. When we grieve not for the one who passed away. No, we grieve for ourselves. That person gave us a pleasure, gave me a pleasure, gave me security, gave me satisfaction, gave me wealth, gave me emotional comfort. The focus is on me. And that is why I grieve over son's death. This is very important thing to remember. Those who learn Dhamma and to understand why we grieve. And therefore Buddha said, subduing longing and grief for this world. For the world means for this body. Friends, this is enough as the introduction to the discourse. We will continue this series, and from this you may ask me questions tomorrow. I think we have to finish this, and friends, let us wish once again all those who are suffering due to this COVID-19 and COVID-19 related some factors. May they be free from that suffering and return to normal life and live long in good health with mindfulness. And those who are grieving, as I mentioned, for losing their loved ones will may return to their normal life, thinking and understanding Dhamma. The benefit of learning Dhamma, especially this discourse and other discourses, is to look at the truth and reality exactly as it is, and spiritually, emotionally mature persons. And may they have very peaceful and happy life. And there are some others who are in hospitals, taken care of by very compassionate doctors, nurses and hospital staff. May they continue their wonderful service to help these people and live long in good health. Others who are financially supporting also continue their generosity, which also is a very marvelous practice. May they live long in good health. Some leaders of countries and organizations and so on have already made very good decisions. May they continue to do their wonderful service. And other leaders who may have their own plans, their own ways, and we wish them have patience, understanding, determination, compassion, and above all wisdom to make right, wise decision to help people. With this, let us end this morning's session. And thank you very much for letting us
Thank you,
do
Bante.
this service.
Thank you,